Hi there, my name is Edgar. I'm a 28-year-old DACA recipient, and what I would like to talk to you about today as a DACA recipient is why I support President Trump's decision to end that program. And here's why. So to begin with, what am I talking about when I say DACA? What is DACA? DACA stands for the Deferred Action of Childhood Arrivals, and it was a piece of executive amnesty signed under President Obama in 2012. Now, at face value, it seems to do a lot of wonderful things for the children of immigrants who entered the country legally, and these children were between the ages of 5 and 7 years old. For starters, it gives me the ability to legally work here in the United States. It gives me an employment authorization card. It gives me a social. And it allows me to apply for a driver's license and or a state ID. Again, these are all wonderful things that this program provides, but it does not address the problem of illegal immigration in this country. So let's look at a few numbers. In 2012, the year that DACA was signed, it was estimated that 11.4 million people lived here illegally. And of those 11.4 million people, 46% of them were of Hispanic or Latino heritage. That's almost half of the 11.4 million people that lived here illegally. How have those numbers changed over time? Well, in 2016, it was estimated that 62% of the illegal immigrant population were due to visa overstays, while only 38% of them entered the country illegally. Also, a problem with looking at the numbers is that DHS's numbers do not go past 2015, but the Pew Research Center estimates that each year an additional 70,000 people are added to the number of illegal immigrants in this country. So, what have been the answers when it comes to illegal immigration? Well, there's two of them. There's the Democrat answer and there's the Republican answer. Door number 1 and door number 2. The Democrats don't want to fix illegal immigration because they benefit from a voter block. What is a voter block? So a voter block is when you force a certain demographic of people to vote in your favor because you give them certain concessions, just enough to keep them dependent on your platform while you enact policies that further keep them in their box, further incentivizing them to vote for you, and it becomes a vicious circle. And that is why the Democrats do not want the wall. They want open borders. They want millions of other people entering the country illegally so they can further feed the voter bloc. And where have I seen this before? Well, the black community was affected by the voter bloc, incentivized by the expansion of the welfare state in the 60s and 70s. And this is my opinion, but I believe that the Democrats are attempting to do the same thing with the Hispanic and Latino community. And what is door number 2? What is the Republican answer to illegal immigration? Well, 11.4 million people is a huge number. And the voting base says, just get them out. Get them out. They remain here illegally. They don't have to be here. They refuse to leave. Get them out. The only problem is 62% of that number, 62% of visa overstays, is still 6.5 to 7 million people that you have to process, and you have to provide paperwork to expedite their deportations. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of red tape. And the biggest rift, at least between the undocumented community, the Hispanic and Latino community, is fear. They're afraid. Both sides are afraid. The Hispanics are afraid of the Republicans because they've been brainwashed that the Republicans are somehow evil, that they are uncaring, that they don't want to listen, that they just refuse to address this problem, that they're wasting their time. And I don't think that the Republicans are the party of indifference. I think that they're the party of inaction. Because again, 6.5 to 7 million people is a huge number to deport all at once. And that's what the voting base wants on the Republican side. Just get rid of them all. But how do you do that? That's the big question that hasn't been answered for me in 7 years, 8 years, since DACA was signed in 2012. For 7 or 8 years, Congress hasn't come up with an answer, and I've been kept in limbo, just waiting, hoping that maybe one day I'll get an answer. But I haven't. And again, door number one is that the Democrats don't want to lose power. They don't want to lose their voting base. And door number two is that the Republicans are afraid. They're afraid of dealing with this issue because it's a lot of red tape. They feel like they're losing their time trying to reason with the Hispanic community. Fear is taking over reason. Both sides are afraid to come to the table. The Hispanics and the Republicans are too afraid of each other to approach the table and have a conversation. So that's why I'm making this video, to finally clear things up to the Republican side, because I don't agree with what's going on with the Democrats and why they have kept me in this position for 7 years. That is indifference. And I think the Republican Party has been revitalized by President Trump's efforts to end DACA. And that's why I think it's so important to end that program, because then Congress has to act on this issue. Congress has to come up with a solution. And that has been President Trump's platform. Get rid of DACA and force Congress to take action. Build the wall to keep that 38% out and do something about the 62%, because they're still living here. And no, I don't agree that if you overstayed your visa and you were an adult and you decided to live a comfortable life here in the United States, you were an adult. You get to face the consequences. I came into this country when I was 5 years old. When my visa expired, I was 14. There is a difference there. There are moral and ethical implications to deporting that percentage, an estimated 12% of the illegal immigration community, almost 750,000 people. That is the main issue. That is the main red tape when it comes to DACA, is what do you do with these people? I think Donald Trump is proposing a door number 3, which is merit-based immigration. And one thing I would like to clear up with the Republican Party is that I don't demand anything. You guys don't owe me anything. The Democrats want you to believe that, but I am not owed anything. There is nothing that I expect, and I'm not demanding that you give me my citizenship, because no one skips a line. No one skips a line for voting. No one skips a line for citizenship. And I know that. The only thing that I would request is my day in court. Door number 3, which is let me demonstrate to this country my merit, what I have done, with the 7 or 8 years that I was given an opportunity to legally work in the United States, to demonstrate my good moral character? What have I done for 7 or 8 years to demonstrate that I should be considered to live here permanently? That's all I'm asking for. I'm only asking for my day in court and to go before a judge to say, Your Honor, I believe that I deserve to live here for reasons A, B, C, D, E. And I have worked to better myself and to contribute to this country by virtue of my actions. And I hope that you consider that. That's all I'm asking for. Because I consider this country my home. My home in Mexico is no longer a home. My home is here. And my parents knew that when they emigrated into the U.S. in the mid-90s, when Mexico reported some of the highest homicide rates. They knew the country was in trouble. They knew the country was going up in flames. Cartel murders, political corruption. They knew something was up. They knew home was no longer home. And they emigrated to the United States, and that's why they broke the law. I'm sorry to say, but my parents broke the law by staying here illegally. And I'm caught in the middle because DACA seemed to fix it, but it hasn't, because I've been kept in limbo. My deferred action is that they've put a pin on my situation of whether I get to stay in the country or leave, and I'm just sitting there waiting for an answer. And I haven't had one for 7 or 8 years. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting, hoping that the Democrats deliver on their empty promises for once, and they haven't. And they continue to do so. And as a Hispanic conservative, that destroys someone. And then on the Republican side, they say, I don't care, get out. Well, I think you guys should care, because these people are playing with human lives. They're toying with them. They're just pieces, things to be disposed of every election cycle. I don't think I'm a puppet. I'm a person, and I have values. I have American values, and I want to have a conversation with Republicans on how this issue can be fixed. And I think a merit-based system, which Donald Trump has led, which is why he won in 2016, by the way, he knows what's up. He knows that these people are being cheated by the Democrats, and he wants to fix it. And he's not afraid of saying, if you're an adult and you broke the law, then you should probably go and not break the law. You should come back the right way. Also, a 5-year-old doesn't have a concept of the law. So we need to figure out something else. And I don't want American citizenship right off the bat. Because again, no one skips the line. And I don't think that a handout is going to fix this. I've never believed in handouts. I put myself through school. I worked to earn a living. And I've always worked, and it wasn't until recently that I was able to do so legally. And that's the main difference, is that the Democrats want to push forward a narrative that I'm somehow a victim and that I should be scared and that I should vote for their platforms because they're going to take care of me. We want to help you. Say hablo en español. Vote for Biden in 2020 because he wants to help you, Edgar. He loves Mexicans. What the hell did Biden do for 8 years then? Under Obama? Nothing. He didn't do anything. And that became very clear when he said that he supports DACA. He doesn't want it to end. He wants me to be in this position forever. And that is the main difference between him and President Trump is because President Trump wants to push the country forward. He wants to get things done. He wants to make America great again, because we're not in a good position right now. And God knows what the Democrats have done with the ballots right now that is throwing everything out of whack. Everyone is afraid right now, specifically the Hispanic community, because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen under a Biden administration, and they're being lied to by left-leaning media that they're all going to be deported under President Trump. 11.4 million people are not deportable in one night. That is a lie. And I think it's time to be brave. I think the Republicans should be brave in this issue. They should be able to approach the table with the Hispanic community with answers on both sides. And I think it should be merit-based. These people need to demonstrate what they have done with the opportunities that they were given legally, illegally, constitutionally, unconstitutionally. What have they done with their time in this country? If they've just sat around, then they shouldn't be here, because I haven't sat around. I've worked very hard to push myself forward, to espouse the American values that I have grown up with. I'm 28 years old. I entered this country when I was 5. I have seen and I have learned what it is to be an American. And a component of that is being brave. So on November 3rd, I need everyone to be brave, and I need them to vote, because I don't get a say. I don't get a vote. I just have to sit back and pray that someone finally gets it at the voting booth, at the voting booth, and maybe this time it'll get fixed while I wait here on my little pin, because that's what deferred action is. It's not deportation. It's not an answer. We're just pushing it back. We're gonna put a pin on it. We're just gonna wait and see what happens. I'm tired of waiting. So you guys need to vote. And I recommend that you vote for your Republican candidate at the local, state, and federal level. And most importantly, as a DACA recipient, as a Mexican immigrant, I strongly encourage you to vote for President Trump, because he has begun the process of repairing Mexican-American relations by building a wall and saying, okay, we got to address the 62% of visa overstays. Also, let's talk about the DACA problem. He's offering a door number 3. And finally, for once, I believe that he's offering me a goal in sight. And I think that is who should be president of the United States.